Hello and welcome to another Tarkov video. In this video we're going to be discussing tips to make you better in a team. Now, playing in a team in Tarkov isn't like other games. You don't get a massive advantage if you don't play well as a team. The biggest problem with it is, in Tarkov, one of the biggest things is being spotted. You know, when another player spots you before you spot them, they have an immediate tactical advantage. And if you've got 5 people in your team, you're 5 times more likely to be spotted. Now I'm just going to go through 8 tips that I have personally experienced. I've been playing solo for about the first 2 years of this game, and recently I got into playing with a team, and it just highlights that Tarkov isn't the type of game where you can just team up and immediately decimate any scenario. One of the most important tips is to make sure your goals align across the team. If you're going into a raid with a specific mindset that everyone is on board with, you're going to do better than if you're going in with everyone trying different things. Main problem I have is in my teaming experience is people go in without a clear goal. It's just, we're going to kill someone. If we see someone, we're going to shoot them. For example, if your team needs to get a quest done to help members progress, that will almost certainly increase your ability to act as a team than just going in with the mindset of, we're going to kill these dudes, or let's make some money. You know, just a clear goal before you get started unifies the team. I would advise choosing a leader. Now, this isn't someone that's going to stand there and tell you exactly what to do every moment of every second in the game. It's just someone that's going to make the decision when everyone spawns in and people say, right, what are we doing? You end up in situations where you've got 5 PMCs spawning on the outskirts of reserve with no clear goal in mind, and that's the type of person who's going to lead you out of a sit and duck position. I think indecision is one of the biggest group killers. When people sit there on the spawn not knowing where to go, or they sit in a building not making the choice to move up and push or retreat. And I think that's the leader's role. The leader's role is to turn around and say, look, we're doing this. If it fails, it fails. At least we did something rather than sitting here. The next is just when you're making tactics or plans, consider people's strengths, weaknesses and possible disabilities. If you play with someone who is, short-sighted, near-sighted, someone who has certain colourblind disabilities, you've got to take into account that they might not be able to spot people as well as everyone else, and you've really got to make accommodations so that they can enjoy the game as much as you are. You know, if you've got a really good sniper in your group and you decide to go to factory, chances are you're going to make them perform worse by pigeonholing them into a map that doesn't suit their talents. And this isn't just about skill, it's about kits as well. If you've got a guy with a fully automatic weapon and a guy with a Mosin, don't make the guy with the Mosin breach the building. Take advantage of the armbands you can buy from Ragman. Now, a lot of people don't like to use the armbands for the possibility of some guy with the armbands as well and an enemy slipping into their ranks. Well, instead of all using one colour, assign each team member a colour. Not only does this lessen the chance that somebody is going to walk into your group and just meld with you, it also means that you can spot who is who at a distance by whose armband they've got on. For example, if I was to wear the green armband, you know, if you spot my green armband, it's me, and you can keep track of player position in that way. Also, if there's 5 guys with green armbands, you know there's somebody in your group. Wiggle checks are probably the most important part of team cohesion. Now, what I've found is playing in a group, more often than not, what you hear is that you? Is this you? You know, and you get this 5-minute dialogue leading up to, wiggle if this is you. And it just wastes time. It causes all manner of team kills. It causes people to miss shots, not kill enemies. My immediate, response and recommendation would be, if one team member shouts wiggle check, everyone just wiggles. It's as easy as that. Boggles my mind how many times I found myself in a situation with a group where everyone's wealth and everyone's gear is disproportionate. You'll have people running meta HKs, you'll have people running SVDs, and you'll have others running Mosins and AKs because that's all they can afford. And eventually when we kill someone, or we kill a radar, or we kill a scav, or just someone with a reasonable weapon, it's it's the seagulls from Madagascar, or is it the penguins? I think it's the seagulls, and they're just going mine, trying to, they've got all the loot, but they're trying to take more. Give the guns, which are upgrades, to the people who need them. That way you are more likely as a whole to survive and get out and not lose the entirety of the loot. This goes for stashing loot and insurance as well. I can't tell you the number of times we've had a geared person die, especially this late in the wipe, and they're like, oh, stash me loot. And they're like asking me to stash an M1A when there's a guy on the team that's only got a Mosin. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, why would you expect to get that back in insurance anyway and deprive us from another team member who is arguably, 5 times more effective with an M1A now? Right, I'm going to show you a little diagram on the screen now, and it's basically aimed at how to defend a room. So you've engaged on an enemy, you've got one door, you know he's going to come through that door eventually. How do you defend that situation? Right, so in this picture you've got the friendlies in green and the enemy in red. Now I would say this is the wrong way to defend a room on Escape from Tarkov, and I'm going to explain that. First off, you've only got 1 and 2 can fire on the person. As soon as that guy comes through that door and realizes there's people in the room, it's going to become a firing match. It's going to become a firefight with that guy staying in the corridor, strafing in and out of sight, and 1 and 2 trying to trade fire. Immediately you've thrown away a 3v1 advantage. Now who's in the wrong in this situation? Well, you could argue it's 3 because he's off by himself, but if 3 went and joined 1 and 2 there, first thing that red dude's going to do, throw a grenade, all fucked. Now, with the netcode on Escape from Tarkov, I wouldn't recommend defending a room anyway, but sometimes it happens, sometimes you really can't push out into a corridor to take a fight because it's just not viable. So, arguably in the state of the game right now, what's going to happen in this scenario is red dude's going to come through that door, he's going to have a line of sight on number 1 immediately, blow his brains out. By the time 1 is dead, 2 has a chance to see him, it's an even firefight, but 3 still can't help because he's all the way over in the corner. Now this is the setup I would recommend to defend a room like this. Reason being is every single person in that room has line of sight on the doorway there, and that red dude has to come in and clear the room, lose his peeker's advantage to engage in a fight. It's unlikely he's going to be able to get a grenade round that corner. Possible, but unlikely. So what happens is red dude comes into the room, and he's now got to fight 3 people who can, see him, have line of sight on him, and can shoot him. The whole premise of being in a team is you have more guns than the enemy. And if you fuck that up by having by sitting directly facing the doorway so the guy in the corridor can fight you 1v1 and your teammates can't do anything, you've just squandered your entire advantage. Another thing is you'll notice they are not sat in front of one another. I can't tell you how many times I've sat in a corridor and have someone come and plank their ass right in front of my gun, and it's like I can't see anyone, I can't shoot, I can't do anything. You're just going to get us both killed. Now I'm going to do the reverse, where you breach in a room with multiple enemies. Fundamentally, use a grenade. That's always a good option. Grenades are fantastic, but let's, argument's sake, you don't have a grenade. How should you breach a room with 2 or more people? Firstly, I want to show you what not to do. So in the little animation I've got here, number 1 is moving into the doorway to breach the room, but he's just going to stop there. He's just going to stand there in the doorway, engaging in a firefight, not being able to, not moving into the room, not backing out of the room. Number 2 is going to try and come in to help, because that's what you do when you're in a team, and lo and behold, he's not going to be able to go anywhere. He's not going to be able to do anything. He's not going to be able to shoot the guy. All he's going to do is prevent number 1 from getting out of the room. It's not number 2's fault. It's number 1's fault. Number 1 should have, he shouldn't be a cat. He should have been in the room or out of the room. That's it. Now this is how I'd recommend breaching a room. 1 is going to breach the room first. He's going to go straight in, and then he's going to go straight to the point in which he cannot see the room. So he's going to go in and go at the left, because he can't see the left of the room. He doesn't know what's down there. Chances are, if he goes left, he's going to draw fire from the guy in the room. Number 2 is going to go in and try and return fire on the guy, the enemy, whilst moving to the bottom of the room to make way for number 3 to come in and also start firing at the red dude. The whole premise of this breach is, in the smallest amount of time possible, you have 3 people in the room returning fire at the red dude, whereas the red dude can only fire at 1 person. And Pika's advantage, number 1 probably won't even get shot. So number 1's job is not to actually go in and kill the dude, it's to get in the room, get into the part of the room he can't see, all the while taking fire. Now, chances are he's not going to get hit. Pika's advantage, he's going to get in the room, start running, red dude's going to start pelting bullets, not be able to hit him because Pika's advantage. But the premise is, number 1 doesn't start firing back until number 1 is clear of the door. Being clear of the door is the most important part, because if you stop at that point, if you hold up that door, your team cannot advance, it cannot retreat, and you turn the entire encounter into a 1v1 and you squander your entire advantage. Discord has the ability to share your screen with almost minimal impact. It really isn't that bad, especially where Tarkov is concerned. And sharing your screen with your teammates can be a massive advantage. It helps with positioning, it helps to know where you are, it helps if you spot an enemy to easily be able to see where this enemy is. Now, there is downsides. You can be caught off guard by looking at someone else's stream. It does require you to have a second monitor, but overall I think the advantages far outweigh the disadvantages. It's one of those things that when you really stop to think about it, makes a ridiculous amount of sense. If you were in a real life scenario, a real life firefight, and you had the ability to see through your friendly's eyes, your ally's eyes, while still being able to look through your own, it's like a no-brainer, isn't it? You know what I mean? You've got 2 visual points of confirmation. It would be a massive advantage. It's the same way Discord and being able to talk through a voice over IP software whilst being silent in game is like having telepathy, really. You know what I mean? Like, if you were to engage on an enemy in real life, a 5v5 scenario in a compound, and you can be able to talk to your entire team without making a sound, like, Jesus Christ, that tactical advantage is huge. It's also why it irritates me when you play as a team and then you lose to like a solo dude or something through just sheer stupidity. One of the bigger benefits of playing as a team is if you die, you can have your gear stashed. Now, a lot of teams this is mandatory. Some people just ask for it. Others, it's more of a if I've got time sort of thing. My advice: it's always nice to stash your teammates' gear if it's not immediately helpful in the raid, but I would not expect it of anyone. Take the gear in expecting to lose it. Do not put the onus on your friends to hide your gear for you. You've died. You made the mistakes. That's the way the game plays out. Don't expect people to go out of their way and potentially die and lose their gear to stash your stuff. Now, what I would advise is, if you are in a situation where you wish to stash someone's gear, but perhaps you're in a dicey situation and you don't have enough time, just go onto their body and just discard all of the items. Instead of actually putting it somewhere in the map hard to find, just discard it. Make it look like the body has already been ransacked. Or, sometimes, in certain situations, the gear will be forced through the floor. And that is it for this video. I hope some of these tips help you and your squad get victory. If you have any tips that you know of or things your squad does that massively helps your gameplay, pop that down in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. I hope this video helps, and I'll see you next time.